All right, folks, thank you for joining us here. We are the Extreme Ag team. My name's Damian Mason. I'm the host and part-time producer of the Extreme Ag Cutting the Curve podcast. I also help the guys here communicate the message of all the great things they are learning in the business of agriculture. This is Kelly Garrett from Arion, Iowa. He is a farmer, obviously, and he also has a couple other business interests. He's going to talk about his usage of nature's products. This is Lee Lubers, Gregory, South Dakota. And he is going to talk about salvaging a crop. You know what? We all love to talk about setting records and how amazing we are, but sometimes solvency and living to fight another day is the name of the game. In other words, salvaging a crop when things are really going to hell in a handcart. And then that's Chad Henderson. Chad Henderson from Madison, Alabama. Chad Henderson is going to talk about his usage of nature's products, specifically as it relates to wheat. Then we've got Tommy Roach. Tommy Roach is Vice President, Product Development, mad scientist, and generally good dude here with Nature's. Tommy Roach is going to probably get really in the weeds on products and talk to you about potassium, particulates, and all kinds of things that you forgot since chemistry class. My name, then again, is Damien. If you have a question, raise your hand. We want to make this interactive. Yell my name, yell out, whatever you want to do, get our attention. We will make this interactive. Any questions of an agronomic or farm economic basis, please raise your hand and we'll take them. We also are recording this, and this will be available at the Extreme Ag website. So getting right into it, Nature's. You said something really interesting when we did a recording, Kelly. You said the neat thing about Nature's, you've been using it for several years, and now it's just standard practice. It's not even experimental anymore. You're using the Nature's product line as standard practice on about every acre at your farm in Iowa. Talk.
So my in-furrow on corn is Nature's First Down with Crop Max. Then we'll come back at fungicide time on the corn. We'll put Finish Line on. You know, the Finish Line is one thing. Last year it was $4 an acre. I'm sure this year it'll be a little higher with like everything else. But it's a guaranteed 4.5 bushel an acre when you put Finish Line on at fungicide.
Most of these people probably know it, but what is Finish Line real quickly? Finish Line, Tommy, without getting too technical on the periodic table.
All right, 846 with a heavy load of micros, zinc, manganese, copper, because it's blue, and boron.
I thought copper was not blue. Why are we saying yes, it's copper because it's blue?
It's blue. Copper is blue.
What color's a penny? All right, go ahead, Kelly, about your process using the in-season stuff.
On soybeans, you know, Tommy will make us a blend. We'll send him a tissue sample or something like that, and he'll make us a blend of a foliar that we'll put on at R1. Then when we'll come back with fungicide, things like that. Almost every time I go across the field, I'm going to put on potassium acetate. There will be potassium acetate, my 2x2 on corn. This year, for the first time, we're going to put some Fertility in the 2x2 on soybeans. We believe Kevin's had good luck with that, and we're going to try that in Iowa and see if we can get a yield bump. We don't get much of a yield bump out of any Fertility and furrow on soybeans. We've been doing it all foliar. We're going to try to put it in the 2x2 and see if we can copy what Kevin has been having success with.
Hey, Kelly, one thing that we all know is that farming is a business. Agriculture is a business. You know, we think it's really neat to talk about the lifestyle and our families and all that, but if you don't make money, it's not going to work as a business. You gave a real good example. You said for about $5 an acre, you can bump 4.5 more bushels of corn. Just real quickly, is that an accurate statement?
Yes, it is. And, you know, like in 2020, for example, we had a trial on the foliar product that Tommy did on soybeans. You know, soybeans were only worth $9.60 or so about that year. It was $24 of Fertility, and it produced 9.5 bushel. Even on $9 beans, that's a no-brainer. You know, I always look for a 3-to-1 ROI, and we consistently are repeating that with these products.
And so now we're at $27 soybeans. I mean, for God's sakes, you know, we're about 3 times that. So if you can't justify this nature stuff now, you know, what are we talking about? Pass the mic over, please, to my friend Lee Lubers. Lee Lubers has a really good example. We all love to talk about ringing the bell, you know, setting the curve, being a new record setter. Well, sometimes in farming, it's just a matter of salvaging a lousy year. You had one of those, Lee. You had a drought. You had a lot of conditions working against you, but you found that the Nature's product, Finish Line, actually made you money by salvaging what could have been a really tough year.
Yeah, our soybeans really struggled in 2021. From mid to July to the end of August, they spent more days being gray than green. We were even having leaves fall off, and we were doing a whole bunch of foliar trials. and we had it sitting there in the shed, and it's like, hey, let's put it on, because if it works in a drought, that's got to be something good. We applied the quarter finish line to the soybeans, and then we got like a half-inch of rain. They greened up. It's like, hey, they look like soybeans again. And then 95 degrees and no rain for 3 weeks. Turned gray, looked terrible. And it's like, well, we did it. See how it ends up. When it came around to harvest time, we could tell we left an untreated strip in the field, a 240, and we could tell the leaves dropped off earlier there, and it looked differently. And when we combined it, where we applied it, it made 2.5 bushel better. And this is on a field that averaged about 45 bushel. You don't set a record doing that, but guess what? There was 25 bushel beans in our area too. So we still defied the odds, and even in a drought, finish line added bushels to us. And these guys are doing it. They've been using finish line before we did. They've made it work in normal years, and we made it work in a drought year. So that makes me feel pretty confident in it.
And the takeaway is, 2.5 or 3 bushels more. Again, we're talking about, $16 beans right now at, 35, 45, $50. And the cost of application, what?
It was a $5 product roughly to put on. So it was a huge ROI for us.
Right. And by the way, Kelly laughed at that. What are you laughing about down there, bald man? From
The $55 beans.
Well, I'm just going with what it's going to be by fall. I mean, for God's sakes. I've been hearing my whole life, like all of you have, how farmers don't make any money. You almost can't hide anymore. There's a reason you're selling $21,000 an acre farm ground in Iowa right now. I think we can all admit that. Speaking of a place where they commonly have droughts, because Chad Henderson will tell you he's about 4 days away from a drought every summer in northern Alabama. He had really good success using K-Fuel and Finish Line, both Nature's products, of course, on wheat. Mr. Henderson, give us some background on your usage of Tommy's Nature's products.
He sent me a quart of Finish Line. I put it on some wheat.
I like it. Brevity is indeed one of your things, but this is a panel, so can you just give me a little more expansion on that topic?
Got the rate right anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I got right was the rate.
There you go.
So, no, we had some there. We was getting it in to put on corn and beans as these guys. We've been doing that for a few years now. And I asked Tommy, I said, well, we're always thinking about lining stuff up, especially this time of year. Like, what products are we going to try? What are we going to use? Are we going to change the rate on anything? Are we going to up the rate on anything? What we're looking like? And we always, too often, I mean, me and Tommy did it, about a month ago. We're like, hey, we're in season on wheat right now. And everybody, down our way kind of forgets about it. And so I said, well, let's run out here and what do you think? And it's same dose as we do on the other stuff. We're quarter Finish Line and a gallon of K-Fuel. And what we done is we split. We had one field that was there, and then we put like 2 or 3 rounds in the field, 120-foot booms with 1 gallon of K-Fuel. And then we went on the other side of it and went with a gallon of K-Fuel and the Finish Line. So we had them separated at the time. So we picked up about 2 to 2.5 bushel on one, and then around 2 bushel on the other one. So it was in between, that 4 to 5 bushel deal that we picked up when we paired the two together. Is where we was at.
The big thing here is you are a fan. How many years have you used Nature's products, Chad?
I don't know, Tommy. Where we been? We 3 or 4 years deep, I guess, is what we've done.
Since we're always honest here, is there any learning curve? Did you do anything wrong? Was there a thing where you could have done better by getting more yield by doing something? Was there a learning curve on using any of their products?
Well, the learning curve's been Tommy's been keeping me woed back. I'm not real good at keeping woed back, and he's like, I'm always wanting to try something way over here because I'm like, well, all of us as farmers, if a ounce is good, a pint's better, but I always want to find something where it's going to burn it and then bring it back from there. But I haven't. It's been a pretty even rate, and it's just real simple as far as the way we've done with the K. We put the K in with our nitrate pass, our second nitrate pass, and then maybe we put the Finish Line in with one of the fungicide passes, the first one on the flag leaf. So it's different timings that we've done, and then we've just made it regular practice is the way it works on our farm.
Kelly, you got anything to add on that? Because it's become standard practice for you, and you obviously recommend it, and you see the payoff. The example you gave us was on the corn economics. Real quickly, since you corrected me on soybean economics, I'm just going by what I think they're going to be by fall. I mean, gallon of gas, soybeans, which one crosses $30 the first time? I don't know. Go ahead and give me your economics on soybeans using last year's numbers.
My economics on soybeans?
On soybeans using Nature's products on soybeans.
Well, like I said, my foliar will add about 9 bushel. The learning curve thing is something that I found interesting. I hadn't thought about, but we used to put fertility in furrow and we never saw anything. So we've taken it out. We went to more of a foliar pass and we've seen a yield bump from that. And now, like I said, Kevin's getting a nice yield bump from putting it in the 2x2, which is really unheard of. People putting fertility in 2x2 on soybeans. I visited with Tommy about it, and we're working on it. He's going to build us something, and I believe that what Tommy said is just taking fertility from the furrow and going to the 2x2 is a pretty easy 3 or 4 bushel. And I don't know what kind of dollars he's talking about spending in the 2x2, but 3 or 4 bushel, according to Damien's, about $220 an acre. It's probably closer to about 45, but using Damien's numbers. But that's the Nature's products, as clean as they are, as easy as they are to use to go through the planter, things like that. And this is something I've learned from Lee. It isn't always about the amount you put on; it's what you put on and when, and it triggers the plant, triggers the exudates of the plant, and makes the plant hungry to do more things in the soil.
Lee, expand on that. It's not necessarily the rate, it's what you put on and when. Expand on that, if you would.
Yeah, part of our learning curve is we always approach fertility as like, hey, we're putting on fertility, core fertility, and even balanced fertility, but then we realized we weren't handling it right during the season, and with products that Nature's have, we can come in and hit it with some fertility, relatively low cost, that really complements the base we've already got established, and that's where we're getting the yield pop. So we're really seeing the value of the in-season fertility aspect has been our learning curve.
And then, Chad, you were nodding your head. I want you to take that without repeating those two guys and expand on it, because you always are good at surmising stuff and wrapping it up in an entertaining way. By the way, he's the fastest farmer in America. He covers a quarter of a mile in 4.06 seconds. His hobby is driving a Buick Grand National and drag strips. So anyway, he's not just a great producer. He's also the fastest farmer in America. You won't catch him.
What was the question again?
You think he can do it with a Buick Grand National? You can see how he can do it with a John Deere combine. He's got that thing just tripped out. It's faster than all hell. Expanding on what these guys just talked about, takeaways becoming a standard practice. It's not quite there for a lot of these farmers. Becoming a standard practice and takeaways that anybody that's thinking I'm gonna dabble into Nature's and what do I need to know become standard practice.
Well, for us, we look at these foliar programs, and we look at one with Finish Line, or we look at putting on more K. Well, say 7-8 years ago, I would have just put on more N, P, or K up front. And so now as the more we learn and the more around people and Tommy and the people at Nature's and these guys, we learn how to pull money back from a dry fertility program. And it's not about just putting more money into it or putting more money out there, putting a foliar out there, because that's the problem. You look at these and say, man, I just don't know. Lee's case, it was dry. There's not many farmers who want to run out when it's dry and you're in the middle of a drought and let's spray something on there. We're in survival mode. But when you put that in your program, keep it with your program. And you may want to move your front fertility program around a little bit on the dry part to know that, hey, I'm going to put this quarter Finish Line in, or I'm going to put this gallon of K-Fuel in, or put this Humaflex in, or, some of these other products that we can get through. So that's kind of my take on it. Is I make a plan in the front, and regardless of what the weather does, bar a disaster, I try to stay with my plan.
All right, we're going to go to our man Tommy Roach now. Tommy, nitrogen. We've always got to be applying nitrogen. We're always putting nitrogen on, and we do it throughout the season. Today's panel is about in-season fertility, and these guys are talking about everything that they're doing is over the top. They're going over foliar, but there are producers, obviously, that do a wide drop or side dressing, and we're going to talk about compatibility with your product, and you want to get to telling us a little bit about K-Flex. It's a potassium product that allows greater nitrogen utilization. So why don't you talk a little about those things, in-season fertility without going over the top, and then working our way to K-Flex.
All right, so as you can see up here, we have different touch points that I would call in the life cycle of a corn plant. And same thing for wheat, same thing for soybean. So today, the first arrow over here on the right or the left, that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow on the planter. Everything else being in season, which is what we're going to talk about now. So they've touched strictly on foliar, but I would assume everybody has some method of applying in-season nitrogen. Yes, nod your head. Now we can't do much if you're applying in-season anhydrous. We can't affect that. But if you're using in-season nitrogen, UAN, there's two ways to do it. You can side dress it with, say, a typical Coulter rig, or you can wide drop it. Now, what I've found is that there are two distinct camps. You're either squarely in favor of wide drop, or you're squarely against it. So here's my 2 cents. So this year, we did a trial in Iowa, very harsh growing conditions this year, and we did the same side dress / wide drop trial in Indiana. Great growing conditions. So we had two totally different environments. So not a lot of people do this. Think about adding potassium to UAN because it can cause a train wreck. Potassium and nitrate together causes potassium nitrate, which is an insoluble crystal. Don't call me if that ever happens, because I'm telling you now, don't get there. But there's ways around it, and it's called, you can't fool the laws of chemistry, which I'll show you in a little bit. You can only add so much potassium into a certain amount of nitrate.
That's a fact.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Have
Yeah, I have seen what becomes of that.
Yes. It's not good. So, here's 7 years worth of research. That's what I do. And this bottom number here, that's all different forms, all different sizes of potassium in with UAN. So the takeaway is, we know in-furrow over no fertility at planting is a no-brainer. But look what happens when you add potassium into nitrate, UAN, at side dress. The key thing with potassium is to keep the plant running during the season. It's not all about putting on more units of nitrogen.
Correct.
Yes. All right, next slide. I didn't mean to take over your show. All right, so here's 6 years worth of data. Taking a gallon to a gallon and a half of this in with, and rates of UAN does not matter. It could be 20, 30, 40, whatever the going rate is. We're at 4.3 extra bushels with a gallon to a gallon and a half. Calculate the ROI on that one. All right, here we'll get to what we did the last year. If you're in this camp, here's the side dress camp. The yellow is no added K-flex to it. So we're at 204 average across Iowa and Indiana. We add a gallon and a half to that side dress. Do the math, seven-ish bushels. What's our ROI on that one?
Good.
Yes. All right. So here's wide drop. And if you're in this camp over here, what you'll notice is you have much more increased efficiency over here because you're putting it right down the middle of the row. So you got to help it. When you're putting it at the base of the plant, you don't need as much help, but you still get benefit to the tune of 3.5 bushels with a gallon and a half. That's this year's data. So hit it again. All right. Indiana, Iowa. There's the average. This is no added K-flex. So what's the right rate of nitrogen I should be using given this graph? Where's the law of diminishing return? Somewhere in here. Yeah, there you go. There you go. somewhere between 25 and 30 gallons. You know, put a coulter right down the middle of the row. Now, if you're in this camp, here's a Y drop camp. Not near as pretty, but where's the law of diminishing return on Y drop? Somewhere in here. Yes, there it is. So bottom line, and this is common sense, I think, I can get by with less nitrogen putting it there at the base of the plant than I need out in the middle of the road. Does that make sense? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Kelly. Tommy, and your clicker's working if you'd like me to get back
No,
to you.
I'm done.
Also,
I'm done with that.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Because Tommy obviously has a lot of knowledge on this. Anybody get questions about his idea there with Y drops and side dressing? Has anybody got any thoughts on that? Anybody got any questions they want to ask any of the Extreme Ag guys about their usage of Nature's products? We're happy to take your questions. It's an interactive thing. Hang on, my friend Wayne.
So can K-Flex be just directly put in with the UAN, no water buffer or anything?
That's what we're fixing to get to.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead, Tommy. Talk to us a little bit about then with your microphone on, and tell us about. You're talking about now compatibility.
Yep.
We're talking about compatibility because you're all wondering. I mean, I know I was. How can I mix this stuff? What can I do with it?
So Kelly or Chad, the Alabama guy, he was saying what not to do. You don't want to cause potassium nitrate. So I'm going to show you what not to do, and it doesn't take long to do it. Watch me. So here's 8 gallons, we'll say equivalent of 28%. All right.
You
What do you want?
You talk.
All right.
What do you want?
You're going to deal with the chemistry set? All right. Yep.
And with what?
Nope. Excuse me.
You gonna snot it up? Let me do it.
I am. You want to snot it up? Okay. All right. Pour it up to the top. So typical compatible.
And the clear glass is just water.
No.
Okay,
That's
what is it?
K-Flex.
Okay.
I hope it works.
Explain what we're doing here, Tommy. What are we doing?
That's going to turn into snot the longer it sets. So you can only shove so much potassium into nitrate before that happens.
What rate would this be?
So the ratio, the rules of chemistry, 8 to 10 gallons of 28, you can put in 1.5 gallons of K-Flex
Before you have a problem.
before you have a problem.
So do those numbers real quickly
If
again.
you went a 6 to 1, you would have a train wreck.
Okay, so the numbers that still work are how much to what?
8 to 10 gallons of 28 with 1.5 gallons of K-Flex.
Okay, questions. Anybody got questions about compatibility? Questions? You looked like you had a question.
It's not compatibility though. What about nitrogen for high yield soybeans?
Do you want to
So-
get to that now or later?
No.
There's no such thing as a bad question. All right.
So we know that if you're over, let's say 70 to 80 bushel beans, you're going to have to add more nitrogen. Bean plant can't keep up with that much demand. So when does it need it? I've got slides I could show you, but when does a soy plant need nitrogen? Later versus early.
Wait, if you're going to put him on the spot, it's important to do it on a microphone so you can hear the silence better.
Well, he's supposed to have a microphone.
With the pod when it starts building?
When you
the
start
pod?
filling.
Filling.
So nitrogen being high oil and high protein, it's going to require, or what did I say, a bean being high protein, high oil needs nitrogen. That's the sink. So we would want to add nitrogen, say start adding at R2, R3 is when I would start adding some nitrogen. It doesn't take a lot. Like you could use like a SRN, possibly foliar, or even before you get to R, you could even Y drop, because y'all Y drop soybeans behind you.
Hang on,
Yeah.
you want to hear
Yeah.
from our man Matt
Yes,
Miles, who's
go
going to be
ahead.
on the panel tomorrow, an Extreme Ag guy, Matt Miles, who's going to be on the panel tomorrow, and then Tommy just put him on. Tommy got to where he couldn't answer the question, so he did what everybody does. He turned to somebody from Extreme Ag.
Well, I actually was not paying a lot of attention. I don't know what the question was. I was, and then I wasn't, and I got on the phone. You know how that goes.
When do beans need nitrogen? And you wide drop beans.
Talk about wide drop soybeans.
All right, so we do not wide drop nitrogen on soybeans, but if we're adding nitrogen, we'll do that around the R2, R1 to R3 stage, just before, pod development. We use a lot of poultry litter, so we don't have to get in the nitrogen piece that much, even on the higher yielding soybean. As far as wide dropping soybeans, we put several different products in there, including the
K-Flex,
potassium acetate.
yes.
So we've had pretty good luck out of that. I say this all the time, and I'll probably say it again tomorrow. I said this the other day, but corn's like a dog. You can tell it what to do, and it'll pretty much do that. And soybeans are like a cat. So if you've ever tried to make a cat sit and stay, that don't work. But
Unless it's dead.
unless it's dead. So, but no, we do wide drop the soybeans, and mostly we've been using, potassium acetate and some other additive PGRs, different things like that. Actually, don't put the PGR in the wide drop, but we do that foliar. But we've had some good success with it. When we first got our wide drops, that was our first test, was later season beans on potash, and these were probably R5, probably it's probably R4, and we picked up probably 7-8 bushels doing that.
I anhydrous some high yield soybeans one year, and that'll really make your neighbors talk. I've never had so many pods on a bean. Every plant, there are 110,000 population, every plant had 160, 170 pods. And then we got a late storm and made them lay down. When they stood back up, they had 90 pods, they made 90 bushel. And that was a couple years ago. Haven't anhydrous any since. But I keep going back to why I can't replicate that, and the only thing that's different is I didn't anhydrous them. And the root system on the soybean isn't that good, and maybe that anhydrous, was fall applied. It was deep enough that the bean didn't access that nitrogen. Everybody believes too much nitrogen, they're going to get vegetative and tall and fall over. And that year, this was before I used PGRs. I'm going to go back. I've got some anhydrous this year. Because I'm in 15-inch beans, I can't wide drop them, and in visiting with Tommy, when you get over 70, 80 bushel, what stops us most of the time, I need more nitrogen somehow, and I don't know how else to put it out there.
And when did you put the anhydrous on?
It was fall applied. You want to make your neighbors talk, you pull into a field and anhydrous it, and then you pull in. Make your dad wonder a little bit too, let me tell you.
Just for the fun of it, fall applied. Fall goes from, it's in your probably book, somewhere from September 10th until November. So what are you talking about? You mean you fall applied it the fall before you planted the soybeans, right?
Yeah. Oh,
you didn't pull in there at harvest and do it, I hope.
No.
That'd really get the neighbors talking, right?
Sometime in November, that anhydrous would have been put on for the following crop year.
And how many units?
I think it was like 120.
The question there was he wanted to know how many units, and that's what the 120 is.
No.
Anybody else got any questions? Anybody else got any questions over here? Yes, sir. Hang on a second. This is my friend Joel from Oregon.
So the wheat guys, when you're talking about putting the K-source and the finish line on wheat, I'm assuming you're ground rigging that, or are you chemigating?
Yeah, we'd done it on the second. We split shot our nitrate, and we done it on the second round.
Who's got a question for our panel here? We're talking about using in-season fertility with the Nature's products. Anybody? We're here.
I do have more comments.
I want to hear your comments, Tommy, please.
So regardless if you're Enlist system or Extend system, because that does factor into what you use fertility-wise, these two are tank mix approved. Just FYI, K-Fuel is, which we talked about that. Blue Juice Finish Line is tank mix approved. If you need micros in season, this is why you use it. That's my comment.
obviously, if you want to see into these products, he's close to it every day. He's holding up stuff and assumes you know what it is. But if you don't, come up here afterwards and he'll be able to give you the tutorial, and we can get the chemistry set out and you can touch it and look at also what the analytics are, because you hold that up right there. It probably means more to you than it does to these guys. For instance, anybody got any questions? In-season fertility. In-season fertility using the product specifically, K-Fuel, Finish Line, and I guess then takeaways. Final takeaways. Go ahead, Tommy.
And for Mr. Jim Hunt out there.
Well, hang on. I'm going to find Mr.
I'm not going to ask him a question.
Go ahead.
Because here's another way that Kelly didn't talk about this, but he runs K-Fuel through his...
through my drip irrigation from Netafim. And if you want to know how plant available, that's one of the best things about the Nature's products, how plant available potassium acetate is. I can put it through my drip system and I'll pick it up in a tissue sample in 3 days. That's amazing to me.
Comment. You want to comment on that?
Thank you for commenting.
Okay. Any questions about in-season fertility utilizing the Nature's products? We've talked about corn, soybeans, and wheat. We've talked about the chemistry. Is there anything, Tommy, then on the way out the door before we let these people get turned loose and start having drinks? I think we get final point from everybody. They can have drinks right now if they want, of course. Yeah. It's not going to hurt our feelings. Okay. Matt has a question for Chet.
I just got one question for you. Why did you leave too early last weekend?
So last weekend we was down to 8 cars, and I went 016 red, and Matt wants to know why I left too early. I told him you couldn't have put this room on top of my finger. We wouldn't stay in no longer. So we lost the race by going red. I'm going to outrun the guy and everything. So is that what you wanted me, just in front of these people? That's what he...
Yeah, after you left me this morning, I just had to figure out something to get you back.
By the way, Kelly, there was a question, and it was from our producer. The year you did the anhydrous, was that the year you planted some crazy time, like you planted them in February then, or what? Tell us about that whole cropping system.
No.
Your neighbors were talking about you, so you went ahead and just went batshit crazy anyhow, is what I'm hearing, right?
Those beans would have been planted in middle April.
Okay, and then you put anhydrous out there in the fall, planted them middle April, and then harvest season, normal, harvested them fourth week of September, first week of October?
First week of October.
Got it. All right, anybody got any questions for in-season fertility using Nature's products from the XtremeAG angle or from Tommy? All right, Tommy, your final wrap here about... Blue Juice, Finish Fuel, K-Line, all the stuff here.
Car Fuel.
Yeah, right. I think he needs to put a little bit in his Buick Grand National.
Yeah, if you didn't know that a lot of things are named after sports terms, like K-Fuel, Finish Line, Throwback, First Down, Face Off, which is a hockey term.
Triple option. You've got triple option we're going to talk about tomorrow with our friend Kevin Matthews, which is, by the way, an offense that your Lubbock team, Texas Tech, has never actually run. I don't think they've ever actually run the triple option.
No, we
offense.
Were the air raid.
Yeah, right.
That was Oklahoma. That was triple option.
Right. I mean, Texas Tech, which is, by the way, if you don't know about Tommy, Texas Tech, he's a big Texas Tech person, and they are the only team in the country that can commonly go out and just put up 85 points a football game and still lose. But anyway.
Yes.
All right. So, anybody got anything for Tommy? Because we're going to go through our final wrap-ups. Final wrap-up then. What do we need to know? The thing that we did not discuss, Tommy, today in front of our panel, in front of these wonderful people. What thing did we not address that maybe we should have in a wrap-up?
Next question. So, we was talking about how much and at what rate on the K-Fuel. And so, I mean, at what rate if a man was seeing the tissue sample, he's going to make a side dress and he sees he's a little short in K, how high would you go? What scares you in too high, and then how much water is enough water?
So, all right. So there is, if you've been dealing with through the years, whether it's soluble potash, turning it into like an 0013, 15 type material, or if you're using KTS, you know that if you put too much foliar KTS, you will burn said plant. You could use 5 gallons of 0024, which is K-Fuel, And good luck trying to find any plants that are speckled or anything, because you won't find it. Now, we talk about UAN again. If you need more potassium out there, you've all heard the term dilution is the solution. For every, say if you need 2 gallons of K-fuel past the mixing ratio, then just add 2 gallons of water. That will get you over the problem.
I like it, and thank you. That was a good question because he knew he had something to say, and you helped him find it. So, Chad, if you're ready for your final takeaway, otherwise we'll go ahead and hear from these guys. That was it? Okay. Lee. Go ahead. Lee, your final takeaway that you learned in the last couple of years working with Nature's products and moving forward.
I guess the only way you're going to increase yields is if you're doing something different than you was doing before. And that's what we realized as in-season fertility. We needed to focus on that more, and that's where we're going to be gaining bushels. We can see that moving forward. So, if you haven't been focusing on trying things for the in-season fertility, I think it's time.
So, and this is obviously what we're talking about here. Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, you're already going across the field, whether it's spraying insecticide, fungicide, herbicide, whatever. So you might as well take advantage of that extra trip and put fertility in there.
And that's exactly what Kelly's big thing is. It's become standard practice. A few years ago, you were experimenting with this, and it took you how many years to become, nope, I'm sold on it. I'm going to use this about every time across the field.
Tommy calls Iowa the last frontier because there's so little foliar application, there's so little planter applied nutrition. You know, Matt and Chad want to make fun of my soil because they say I can plant backwards in August and make 220 bushel corn. And
that's not making fun of the soil.
That's making fun of me.
That's making fun of you, right.
And, working with Tommy and working with Lee, Lee's taught me a lot about in-season fertility. Working with Tommy and the whole Nature's team has really added value and changed my operation. We used to talk about hoping to make $100 an acre, and now we're doing different practices and we trial them. We're talking about making $45 an acre here net or $25 an acre net there. It's really improved our bottom line. There's more work to it. That's what XtremeAG is about is can we improve our ROI through intensive management? And that's what we're doing with Nature's. And instead of doing more all the time, I want to try to do better. And working with Nature's, I'm doing better.
I think that's the best takeaway here, and that what XtremeAg's all about is you are doing more work, but again, right now acres are so expensive. The farm ground has gone up 20 and 30% just in the last 15 months. So maybe the answer to make more money isn't to be able to go out and rent or buy more acres, it's to get more out of every acre. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, whether it's talking about some of the other things we're doing, from tile drainage to drip irrigation to, of course, over-the-top stuff in season. You're going to be out there anyhow. Why not get the big bang for it? I think that's what everyone here is talking about. You've amped up your in-season fertility program, and it's paid off, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We just took away some from our dry program that we was spending and kind of kept our money the same. It's all about efficiency. We all have this one pile of money we're going to spend on fertility. That's it. It's in a budget. So I just started moving the money around and change it from here or there.
Brilliant.
We've absolutely done the same thing. We, going back to the last frontier, it's all dry, applied before season. We've lowered that budget and just taken that money and switched it over to the in-season fertility. The planter applied fertility kept the same budget and added to the net bottom line. That's the important number.
And Lee, since you were described as the smartest farmer Kelly knows, in season, you're going to amp up your in-season stuff by programs we're talking about like this?
Yeah, definitely. We're very enthused what we've been seeing working with Tommy's products because the consistency is so nice. It's just a great product to work with. You don't have any issues with it.
Fantastic. We talked a lot about compatibility when we were prepping for this, Tommy. Anything on the way out the door about compatibility? Any other takeaways that we didn't get to? And otherwise, we're going to let these people have a drink.
No, I covered it all right here.
All right. His name's Tommy Roach. You obviously know how to find him. He's like a genius when it comes to just about everything agronomic. His only downfall is he's a Texas Tech Raider fan. Then you've got Chad Henderson right here. Chad Henderson is a founding member of XtremeAG. Lee Lubers, Gregory, South Dakota, founder of XtremeAG. Kelly Garrett. Tomorrow we're going to do this again. Tomorrow at 1:15, and we'll be talking about at planting fertility. Our guests will be Kelly once again, Matt, and our friend Kevin Matthews back there. So it'll be Matt Miles, Kelly Garrett, and Kevin Matthews will be talking about Nature's product applied at planting and talking about running stuff through the planter versus in-season foliar. We welcome you to come here. We want you to come here, and also we want you to bring your questions.
And Jason Webster.
Oh, Jason Webster from Precision Planting is also going to be here, so you'll be able to question him about everything that goes again in furrow or next to furrow and 2x2, etc. at time of planting for fertility. So anyway, thanks for being here. Stick around. They've got a whole keg over there. It's generally probably foamed down a little bit, so it's good. Thank you for being here. And keep up with all of our stuff at Extreme Ag. And there's food coming also. Yep. Thanks a lot.